Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, after an 11-year marriage, Opie's wife, a physical therapist, was fired and sued for inappropriate relations with a patient. Despite pleading innocence, he left, later winning a divorce settlement. They sold the house, bought a new one with horses, and adopted a child. He is now content and gives horseback riding lessons, having moved on from a painful past and finding fulfillment in a new life. Now let's get into the story. When our marriage came to an end, my wife was 37, working as a physical therapist for 5 years. I was 35, we were married for 11 years. We were both content without bringing children into the world. We just started going through the process of becoming adoptive parents, but that would never happen for us. I was proud of her for how hard she worked. She loved her job, and I never expected her to do anything she'd be ashamed of. One day, she came home early. I was off work that day for some reason, and she looked devastated. I asked her what was wrong, but she didn't want to talk about it right away. When she did talk to me, it was like she rehearsed what to tell me. She said her boss noticed she had accumulated a large amount of vacation time. She pretty much ordered her to take a paid vacation. I didn't understand what was so sad about that, but I didn't know my wife loved her job and felt restless at home. She usually cleaned or kept herself busy when she had to be home, but this time she stayed in bed. She could barely move. I knew something was wrong, but she wouldn't talk to me. I got the mail and found something alarming. It was a letter to my wife, explaining the reason for her immediate termination. I was shocked. I ran on to find that not only was she fired, she was being sued in court. I was so confused. What was happening? I walked like a zombie into her bedroom, finding my wife lying awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. I threw the papers at her and asked for an explanation. Once she gathered them up, she started hyperventilating. Once she calmed down, she probably figured I was going to find out anyway, so she told me what happened. 8 months ago, she'd gotten a patient to work with who was in a dirt bike accident. He was learning how to walk again, basically, and couldn't use his hands for anything either. She had fed him, spoke with him, and really gotten to know him. She helped him to go to the bathroom and shower, and when he asked her to help him with something else that wasn't allowed, she did. I was instantly heartbroken. She was mine, and I was hers. By helping this guy, she sacrificed her career and marriage. What's worse is he was married too. His wife was the one suing my wife and her employer, maybe because he felt bad about it and told her. I couldn't believe it. She begged me to stay with her because she needed me now more than ever. She didn't love AP, she knew that. She just felt bad for him as his caretaker. I reminded her that the vows we took meant she would be my wife and only help me with things like that. The same was expected of me for her. She took advantage of the trust she had as a physical therapist and had intimate with her vulnerable patient. For all I knew, she instigated it. She just admitted she spoke with him and got to know him well. Was that her way of telling me she fell in love? His wife didn't deserve this betrayal either, probably while she stood by his side during the long recovery. My wife had a very hard time ahead of her, but I wasn't going to make it any easier. I moved out, waiting for all this to settle before I filed for divorce. After she was found guilty and in a whole heap of trouble, it was easy for me to win more favor. She owes a ton of money and can no longer practice physical therapy. I don't know how or if she's moved forward in life. She called everyone she ever met or came in contact with to ask for help and was met with a ton of rejections and criticism. She pretty much fell off the face of the earth after that. I don't know if she managed to pay off all that money or if she was arrested. I never wanted to look into it and find out. By the time I could move back into our house, it was like a tomb of old memories, frozen in a time when nothing was wrong. It was scary. I had help from friends and family to get rid of all that stuff and put the house up for sale. With the profits from that, I bought a nicer house on land with horses. I grew up with horses, so it really feels like home. I also decided I wanted my home, horses, and self to become a haven for a child in need. Since my wife abandoned me before we were able to adopt, I did it myself. I adopted a 10-year busy living life on a farm, and with my daughter's help, I give horseback riding lessons. It's like I've lived more than one life and became a better person after my failed marriage. I'm proud I made it through, and I'm happy my ex suffered through the reality of her choice. Today's second story. In this story, Opie recounts discovering his wife's affair with her yoga instructor. Suspecting cheating, he secretly records their encounters, leading to a confrontation at the yoga studio. He exposes the affair online, resulting in a divorce where he gains the upper hand. He reflects on the experience, expressing bitterness but finding solace in his newfound freedom. He advises others facing similar situations to trust their instincts, gather evidence, and focus on personal growth. Now let's get into the story. My wife, 27, took a yoga and meditation class. She really enjoyed it, but not as much as I, 31, did. Her body got extremely toned and tempting, and I wasn't the only one that was tempted. I wish I would have gone with her or something, but I got off work too late. Soon my wife started coming home and seeming very satisfied and content, not like the ravenous female she usually was. After class, she would just shower and go to bed, and it really bummed me out. I tried talking to her on the second night it happened, but she said she felt fatigued from her cycle. After I was sure that couldn't still be the problem, I tried asking her again if something was going on. She didn't give me any answer. She just did me a special favor she didn't usually do. I couldn't argue at that time since I wasn't getting anywhere by asking her directly. I decided to go to the yoga class a little bit before it was over. Through the glass window, I saw him helping her stretch. I didn't realize he was allowed to touch my wife. I never would have wanted her to join this class. Plus, I was starting to recall her saying that she was only signing up for the meditation part of it when she got home. I wasn't sure what to say or do. I eventually asked her if yoga class was becoming easier the longer she did it. She said yes, of course. I asked her if the instructor ever had to help her with the moves. She looked at me a little curiously, but said no. She asked if I'd be jealous. I was starting to get ticked off now. She lied and then wanted me to be jealous. I told her I would be disappointed if another man gave her special attention or got to feel her body even a little bit. She looked down and shrugged quietly, saying I didn't need to worry about it. I was not convinced. The next day, I left work a little early again and acted like I was on the phone outside the yoga class. But my phone camera was on and recording through the window. He wasn't touching her, but they were close. For a room of 25 people. When everyone was dismissed, the camera recorded them going into the back room alone. Someone held the door open for me, and I snuck into the empty studio. I went into the hallway, still recording, and stood by the closed office door until I heard moaning. I opened the door, filming a few humps before the yelling started. My wife was in complete shock. The yoga instructor was furious, this telling me to get out. It was employees only, and they were closed. I told him my wife wasn't an employee and her legs were obviously open. He clarified that I was her husband like a dumbass all while I was still recording. He couldn't physically push me out and he was the one in trouble. He put his hands up and said he didn't know she was married and all he wanted was for us to leave because the business was closed. I filmed my walkout, waiting for my wife to follow. She came out 1 minute after me, looking like her life was over. She asked me if I could turn off the camera and we could talk. I told her there was nothing she could say to make this better. I had her on camera having an affair, so she wasn't going to get anything out of our divorce and he was going out of business. She started sobbing in the parking lot and people stopped to watch. She pleaded with me not to share the video. I told her I was definitely going to, and I sat in my car with it locked to post it on my pages and directly on the business reviews page. By the time I drove home, there was a buzz of activity and reactions. People commented, saying they understood his temptation and how bad this was going to be for him. Some girls claimed he looked at them funny too. Whether or not he did, at least they got a little attention out of this claim. The divorce went extremely well for me, and all my wife could do was try to lay low. I know she no longer had a yoga class to go to, and last I heard, she moved in with a friend of hers. I guess after I exposed his nasty business, AP lost all feelings for her. I hope he had a life backup plan like I should have had. I'm a little bitter, but I'm actually doing fine. I'm glad I had all the opportunities and hunches I needed to catch her in the act and file in court. I'm glad she didn't try to come back home except when she got permission to get her stuff. She accepted the shameful truth and didn't try to beg for forgiveness beyond our conversation in front of the yoga place. She had to lay really low for a while, and I think she sold her stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Don't feel bad for her, though. She wasn't thinking about how much she loved me or how much trust one had in her that she was throwing away. Maybe that's why it was easier for me to let her go without feeling too bad. Thank goodness I have not started another serious relationship. I've been working and enjoying my time off work. I don't pressure myself for anything, and I feel peaceful. I'm glad custody wasn't an issue and that I could display her actions for everyone to see. If you're going through something that just isn't right with your spouse, follow your gut, gather evidence, and stay strong. If you're scared, take the time to get to know yourself by journaling and thinking about things you want to spend your time doing. That's the best advice I can offer.